Hi everyone, it's Michele. I'm here at Sacred Reference. I'm making this video. I'm going to talk about healing. I'm kind of doing this as a little public service announcement in the sense that I feel like this is something really important that a lot of us need to hear. Us meaning myself too. I always need to be reminded of this. So I'm going to talk about healing from this perspective of my journey, from my expertise in the field, and from what I see happening in my sessions with people and what's coming through when I'm channeling Isis. This is not going to be a lot of Isis channeling because frankly, I'm getting ready in a couple weeks to launch Reclaiming the Lost Goddess, where Isis will be doing a lot of channeling around this wisdom that I'm bringing through. But right now, my words are meant to touch your ears, to touch your hearts, to touch your field in a way that I hope it brings some form of clarity. And so one of the first things I want to talk about healing in regards to healing is this understanding that right now on this planet, and this is the work that I am serving Isis with, is this idea that we're in this place of reconciliation. We are reconciling and waking up from a great distortion. From essentially, we're waking up, we're healing trauma on a collective level and on an individual level and on a in the cosmos, in the micro, in the macrocosmos, in the multiverses, that there's always what's happening within is happening without. So what happens in our individual world and field ripples out, and we should always know that. And so when I say reconciliation, I'm talking in a way about healing some of the trauma, that trauma of disconnection, that trauma of being connected to that actual felt sense, that knowingness that we are one with Prime Creator, that we are one with the earth, that we are in a state of oneness. And oneness is not something that negates our individual authentic soul awakening. And so part of coming into oneness is that reconciliation between lower self and higher self with the soul. Part of reconciliation is knowing that we are not just our humanness and getting to experience ourselves beyond our humanness. Reconciliation is about the feminine and the masculine coming back into union. And this doesn't mean just the feminine as the soft and pretty angel with wings that just is all about love, because that's not just what the feminine is. And when we think that it's just that, then we're in our old paradigms and old belief systems. And part of this reconciliation is reconciling with the full spectrum of the divine feminine. She is all the archetypal energies. She's the warrioress, she's the crone, she's the maiden, she's the witch, she's the healer, she's the mystic, she's the mother. She's more than that. It's not just like jumping at me. And the divine masculine is also, he's the healer, he's the, the witch, he is the wizard, would I guess, he's the stag, the wizard being the equivalent to the crone, and the stag is equivalent to the maiden. He's all of these things. He's all of these things. He's the warrior, he's the lover. They're the lovers. So it's what we're reconciling. When we talk about reconciliation, we're talking about the reconciliation with all of these parts of self, because the archetypes are the energies of self. They're the energies of the divine masculine, of the divine feminine, that wish to be lived through human form. And we've been cut off from that. That was part of the distortion, cutting us off from that. They turned the gods into these warmongering, taking women. The goddesses became either like Athena was just like this warrior goddess of logical thinking, which she's so much more than that. Or they made Aphrodite this like kind of like slutty damsel, kind of vengeful, jealous, and there are parts of there's shadow aspects to all of the divine. There's shadow aspects, because the shadow is part of how we grow. That's a whole different conversation, though, to dive into at a different time. But what I am trying to really have you understand is that what healing as reconciliation means reconciling with all of these parts of self that we were never able to express. All of these parts of our being that wish to come forward, yet we're so cut off from them that they have to show up either as symptoms, as these almost limitations, so that they grab our attention. It's our soul grabbing our attention, asking us to experience more, to expand. And so when we look at these things in this way, we start to have like more aha. And reconciliation is indeed between the masculine and the feminine. The reconciliation of the total masculine and the total feminine, and then there's the reconciliation between both of them. And we hear a lot about bringing the feminine back, and we're bringing more of the feminine and honoring the feminine. Yet I am aware that most of our belief systems around the feminine are still rooted in the distortion. They're still there, because most of us aren't really wanting to look at these parts of ourselves, because it's so painful and it's so hurtful, and it's easier to just imagine and to sit in our little protected places where everything's okay and we have our lives just covered, and so we just pretend it doesn't exist, and then all of a sudden we get sick. And I want to say this from a place of dear compassion, not in a way that I'm wishing to provoke, or in a way that I'm trying to throw some energy at you. I'm saying this from a place where so many of you are showing up to me for sessions with this belief that you're not spiritual enough, because you've been doing this spiritual work, or you're doing this one protocol, or you've seen this one person, and you're still not healed. Or the symptom has gone away. You have this pain in your body, and you've gone to this person, or you've done this person's thing, and that pain is still there, and so you're not spiritual enough. Or the cancer that you have been trying to beat for the past years is still within your body, and you're thinking that this is the end. Or you are spiritual in every way, and yet you're coming home and binge eating and sitting in front of the TV all night, and then passing out and waking up and just doing it all over again. Or you're experiencing these high, 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 highs, and then low, 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 lows. These are all symptoms. These are all symptoms. The way we move through the world, the way we act, the way we experience these things, whether it's pain in the body, or we're a workaholic, or and we're like a gym rat and we have to go to the gym every single day. These are all patterns of your nervous system. And they're also patterns, they're also your soul's way of trying to call out to you. And so this reconciliation that I'm talking about is of masculine and feminine, means that the world we've lived in has been over masculinated, in the sense where we have put so much of our focus on thinking. We give thinking and meaning making priority. And meaning making and thinking are just a part of who we are. That's actually part of the masculine aspects of ourselves. It's not with the mind that we necessarily, or I should say the thinking mind, it's not with the thinking mind that we are necessarily going to be able to cure or to move forward or to evolve. Because what's happening in our human life is happening underneath the level of thinking and underneath the level of our thoughts. Our thoughts are not creating our reality. I'm going to say that again. Our thoughts are not creating our reality. The state of our nervous system is what creates our thoughts. There is a saying in the world of trauma understanding or physiology. I believe I'm gonna coin Stephen Porges with this one, Dr. Stephen Porges, who created the polyvagal theory. Is story follows state. Story follows state. So that means that the story, the logical linear story, is truly originating in the state of your nervous system. And the nervous system is the energy superhighway. It's how, so we all talk about we're all energy, our bodies are all energy, we're all energy, we're all energy. But how does energy move through your body? How does energy move through you? And that's where we start to work with the nervous system, our physiology, because that's essentially how energy learns to flow and to move. So by working with, by getting underneath the level of thought, we're getting to the level of working with the energy. And because our thinking comes from that left brain, our masculine brain, which is where the explicit memory is, where the explicit, the meaning making, I wore a red dress and drank a Pepsi while I was at this club and I heard this song. Now, I would never drink a Pepsi, but that is that comes from a left brain. That's a declarative memory. I remember I was at this club, this song was playing, I drank this Pepsi, and I was wearing this red dress. Now, the other part of our brain, which is the right brain, which is the feminine brain, that part, it doesn't store information as these linear declarative thoughts. It stores information through the senses. It's the part of ourselves that senses. And so it's not logical. It's not linear. It's not rational. It's irrational and illogical. And it's that part of it's where we sense and we feel. So this is, if we think about distortion, if we think about why on earth would we want to cut ourselves off from the feminine, it's because the feeling is too much. The feeling is where the problems happen, right? So we kind of wanted to like shove that part, and humanity thought we could like, mind over matter. How many times have you heard that? Or, like logical thinking, like push ahead with our thoughts. Your thoughts create your reality. Your thoughts are not creating your reality, because the information going from your brain down to the viscera, down to the organs, and the whole other part, that's only 20% of what's happening. 80% of what's happening is coming from the viscera, from the heart, from the gut, up into the brain. And that's not linear, that's not logical. It all is processed in the senses. So for healing to happen, there needs to be this reconciliation between left and right brain. And I know a lot of you are saying, well, I feel. So the way that your brain works, I share this a lot of times. This comes from neuroscientist, interpersonal neurobiologist, Dan Siegel. And the way that your brain works is he uses this acronym SIFT. Sensation, image, feeling, thought. I add sensation, image, impulse, feeling, thought. So your thoughts, your feelings, the image or the impulse, and the sensation, this is the root. It's the sensation. So what we understand about pain, chronic pain, is that most of what chronic pain is stored sensation. There's other things about it, but majority of it is stored sensation. What we understand about cancer is that a lot of what cancer is, and this is coming from the work of Gabor Mate, Dr. Gabor Mate, and a lot of the biology of trauma. There's some other experts in the field that are really speaking out and pioneering in this world. But what we understand about cancer is that cancer is very much correlated with repressed anger, repressed boundaries, having these nervous system patterns that are called people pleasing. They call it, so there's fight and flight. We all know about that one, fight or flight. And then there's rest and rebuild. We don't know that there's actually, a lot of people don't know that there is that the shutdown. And then there's fawn, which is very much intertwined with freeze. But fawn is this people pleaser. It's the fawn. It's the Bambi, like, help me. It's what women have learned, a lot of women, and men too, but a lot of women have learned to be this in their own way. And it doesn't always have to look like the little like damsel as we know it. It can look very different. It looks very different. I assure you that, because I see it in a lot of people, and I have it myself, of course. But so we have this link. We have these links between unexpressed emotion, unexpressed capacity to create this sense of boundary, to create our healthy no in the world, and cancer. Autoimmune disease, again, is linked with trapped anger. It's energy, because we are all energy. It's energy that is coming back at itself. It's coming back and attacking itself because it can't come out. And so I want you to understand this, because I am so heartbroken when I hear people saying that they're not spiritual enough because they're not healing, and that the healing is taking more than what they expected it to, that they're expecting that quick fix, that spontaneous, miraculous occurrence. But that's essentially what curing is. That's essentially what that over-masculinated idea about what we're going through. And I speak of that and with great reverence, because part of my master's work was working with a professor named Dr. Michael Watson, who was a Native American man and a shaman, and he had polio, but he was an artist and did so much amazing work around like embodied expression and playback theater. It was just so fun and so beautiful. And he really brought in these shamanic understandings and these native indigenous understandings of healing. And I got to do a focused semester, just him and I, around healing versus curing. And it was powerful. And what I began to understand, and so this is where that I'm getting into my second thing. So I'm just going to back up a second and just review and just say, yes, part of what we're doing in healing is reconciling left and right brain. And a majority of us that have been raised in these distorted ways, our nervous systems are not reconciled to be working on left and right brain. And that's essentially what I'm on the journey of myself. And what I'm helping other people do is find those places to own more of that right brain, non-rational parts of self, and to be okay with that, to be able to hold space with the not knowing, to be able to be in the unknowing and just sit with that and to be with that. Because that's essentially where the healing happens, and that's where the feminine is. The feminine is in that darkness. The feminine is the shadow. It is the darkness. She's the moon, and the sun is the light. And the sun is penetrating, and so when the dark and the light in that space, they come together. That's where the healing occurs. That's where healing occurs. So that was the first point I'm going to make. Healing is, right now on our earth, is about reclamation and reclaiming our connections with the soul, with the aspects of ourselves that are beyond human, with our becoming whole, and reconciling left and right brain, because that's a sacred marriage. That's where it happens. So that second point, the one that I was talking about, my professor and my work with healing versus curing, what I was very much made aware of, and really, gosh, it's like I didn't even understand it that well at that time. But it's this idea that healing is the spiritual awakening, that healing is the awakening journey. And when we are considered ill, or we are considered, when we have these symptoms, what if those symptoms were the threads to deeper and greater expansive awareness, to greater parts of self, to the treasure? So again, I'll just bring my mythology into it and just say that where are the jewels and the gems in the earth, on this planet? They're in the earth. Gold, diamonds, rubies, emeralds, the fossil fuels, all of the riches are in the depths of the earth, which, I'm sorry, like something in my mouth. The riches that we're looking for, the internal riches, are also in our depths. They're also in our depths. And so when we go on a healing journey that becomes our spiritual awakening, we go into the depths. And as we go into the depths, we're anchoring ourselves so that we can reach the heights. Because we know, again, here comes my science part, by looking, the neuroscientists are now aware that the amount of sadness that you can hold and experience is equivalent to the amount of joy you can experience. There's a psychologist, Flynn Skidmore. I said he is a great presence online and social media. He made a great post about this. And so I just want to call him out. So the amount of joy is equivalent to the amount of sadness you can feel. And I'm not saying to go looking for sadness, but what I'm saying is, if you want to feel more joy, if you're not feeling joy, then what are you holding yourself back from feeling? Because that means that there's a depth of sadness that's within you that that you cannot safely touch. That's how I'm going to say it. If you're not feeling a lot of joy, there is a huge, huge potential that there is sadness trapped within that you cannot safely touch. And I want to shift it to that, because it's not, you're not doing it right. It's about, this is about building a capacity. It's about building a capacity to being able to experience and hold that. And if you don't have the capacity to experience some of these states of essentially trapped survival stress, because that's all what this is, it's trapped survival stress. Energy that hasn't got to move is trapped survival stress. If you don't, move that, if you can't hold a space for that and discharge it safely, then you're going to unconsciously just push it down, because our thoughts don't create our reality. Our unconscious mind, which is the gut brain, the nervous system, that's what's creating our reality. 80 to 20, 80% unconscious, 20% conscious thinking. That 80% is going to win out every time. So when Carl Jung, the brilliant Gnostic of our times, told us that the only sin is unconsciousness, and that healing and wholeness was about bringing the unconsciousness into consciousness, this is what he was getting at. And this is where his the people after him went searching as the guide, and started doing a lot of this work around the body and how it's stored in the body. A great Jungian therapist is going to know the body work, the dream work, because our dreams are unconscious, but they also know that there's a physiological component. So again, if we want to be able to experience more joy, if we want more healing, if we want to release survival stress, if we want to be able to work with symptoms as these threads that lead us into the depths of our treasures and the gold, then we have to build a capacity to do that. A capacity to be able to sit with the sensation in a place that we can still feel connection, because healing doesn't really happen in dissociated states unless we're still in a state of connection. So there's 3 branches. Polyvagal theory is Stephen Porges's. He's a cutting pioneer in the field of physiology and trauma research. And what we understand about the vagus nerve is there's like many branches. So when we are in a state of safety and connection, that's where healing happens. It's in a state of safety and connection. And that means total trust. That means total connection in the body, grounded and rooted in a state of connection, is where healing is at its most optimal potential. That's what the science is showing us. So I want to just pedal back to that part where I said I'm making this video because so many of you are coming to me and telling me that I've been doing this meditation, I've been practicing this, I read this one's book, and I'm still not healed. And because I'm not healed, I'm not spiritual enough. And I'm here to tell you that your spiritual awakening is your healing journey, because you are unraveling more and more and more and more and more parts of yourself. And yes, we are healing our connection with that part of ourselves that's beyond human. And yes, we are healing the parts of ourselves that are in union with God and the Creator. But we're also healing on a somatic, on the somatic being like body-based level. We're healing on a mental level. We're healing on a nervous system level. And we're rewiring ourselves. We are rewiring ourselves not to always have to have a meeting. One of my best friends just died. She's 43 years old. She left 2 children. She's healthy, and she just died suddenly of a heart attack. The amount of great grief that I feel in my body these past days has been overwhelming. This is actually one of the things that has given me the courage to make this video, because she's just such a courageous woman. And why I bring it up is I'm watching myself. I want to know why. I want to know why. And yet I'm also pissed off when somebody keeps giving me these excuses or this bullshit around like, oh, well, she'll come back with no karma, or, where they're oh, I'm sure she's off in a better place, or she couldn't make it through this next whatever it is. I'm aware that my brain wants to know why, because that's the dominant force within us, and we're all working with that. And I'm aware that everybody wants to tell me a reason why. But the healing is sitting in it's the depths of just feeling the grief, feeling the sadness, feeling the beyond. I'm getting to feel who she is beyond her humanness. I'm getting to commune with her and be with her and allow her in this greater way. And it's not from why did she die? Why did she get the vaccine? If someone else asked me if she had the vaccine, I'm gonna like scream at them, because I don't know if she did, and I don't care if she did. The bottom line is that she's gone. She's gone, and there's nothing about knowing why that's gonna change that. But that's what we do. We want to know why. And maybe because we understand in the world of trauma that first we allow the sensory experiences. First we allow the parts of ourselves that just need to feel, that just need to be. This is the being. It's in the senses. It's in the sensory experiences. And when we're in that, when we're with that, then we can start to sift sensations, image, feeling, thought. We can start to make something out of it. So first it goes from right brain to left back to right, right to left back to right. When a baby is born, this is something I'm going to explain about the inner child. When a baby is born, they only have the right brain. They only have implicit memory. And it's not, it's not until they're like 7 that explicit memory is really, they can start thinking about thinking, but they can't really conceptualize thoughts, like they can remember it, like it kind of, it's like right brain dominant, little left brain dominant, little left brain, but then go back to right brain. And that's what developmental is all about. And so a lot of times when I'm working with people in their inner child, it's like, oh, well, I talked to my inner child and I told her this, and I thought she was all healed. But the inner child doesn't understand words. I can tell my 5-year-old over and over again not to touch something. She's going to touch it. Not because she's defying me, but because words are, they're just a lot. Like, they don't understand these big rational understandings and explanations. So we must understand that first there's the sensory, and then we can start to form images and get the impulses and form feelings and bring. This is where we start to verbalize our feelings. I feel sad, but what's underneath the sadness is the right brain, and then by the time then we start moving over to left brain. Oh, I feel sad, and then thought. It was really sad that this happened. And I know that, it makes me feel better now that, I learned that she passed away because of this or that. But if we're going to stop at I feel sad, then we're trapping an experience. We're trapping, so it's not just about the feelings. It's about going deeper and deeper. And that's what my work is about. It's about building the capacity to go deeper and to go to the root of the sensation. And I hold that space for people. And so you learn how to do that in your own self. And it's through this repeated capacity to do that you learn how to hold space. And sometimes it's hard. I can't always just do it for myself. I have to go to my person or my people that can hold that space for me. And yet a lot of it I get to do, and I can hold that capacity for myself because I've been practicing years and years and years. And I'm seeing this in my clients or the women. I've been doing these amazing women's groups. And a lot of the women have traveled with me now through 3 6-week journeys and are just finding more and building more and creating more. And so what's happening is that the more capacity that we learn to hold, the more we're able to hold these spiritual energies. Just like we said, joy and sadness, same thing. Love and grief, same thing. And so the more energy that we can hold and learn to use and to learn how to discharge, we're learning how to direct energy, physically direct energy. The more that we can receive, we become these transmitters, these like spiritual antennas for spirit to come infuse matter. Because that's so much about what Isis is here to do, to help us infuse matter with spirit. So all of this is tied into our awakening, our spiritual awakening of becoming more. We have to learn how to go within to become more. I would have just been happy being a mom at home, but the tension, and my soul set up this perfect journey for me to have to go and sit in front of this camera and share with you. It's the tension, it's the inner conflict, it's my symptoms that drew me to more information, drew me to understand this. It was my trauma that I wanted to really understand and heal that brought me out here into the world. So my journey of healing is my spiritual awakening, because that's what brought me in union with the goddess and within union with this prime creator. And so that's the second aspect that I'm going to share with you. Oh, okay. All right. This third aspect, we kind of talked about it, but I'm just going to focus on it for a minute, is that healing was distorted. Healing, if you do my Reclaiming the Goddess workshop in the end of June, we're going to go deep into this, and I'm going to share some of the research that I have around this, as well as Isis channeling and some other things. But this idea of healing was distorted. So when we look at the myths, when we look and we trace back to how we have these stories of, we have the stories of the flood meaning the waters. We have this great fear that can come up. There was a great fear that arose because the waters were what destroyed civilizations. If we look at some of the most ancient myths that we have, are those from like Sumeria, and some of them in the origins of North Africa, but they were like written down a lot in Sumeria, were around Tiamat, the dragon mother, and the stories of the goddess are the stories of her rage, her becoming, like the Tiamat was this oceanic ball, and through her rage and fury, she needed to be tamed because she was so uncontrollable. So it's like the forces of the feminine were so, they needed to be tamed. And so we have this idea of squashing, of coming over. And we also know that when the logical linear brain came, that's a lot of technology, a lot of advancements came from this logical linear way of thinking. And so it started to be seen as superior. And we see that with some of these more indigenous communities, the Native Americans of the United States and Canada, Latin America, and the surrounding islands were considered less than. And a lot of these traditions were more right brain dominant traditions. They had wisdom and connection, and they were more rooted in their right brain. So when we have this logical linear superiority coming over, then that was that conquer. And yes, to an extent, it's that logical brain that can win over and can, kind of dominate from that force, but it's coming at a cost. We have gotten to the point in our humanity where that's coming at a cost, putting the meaning making, putting the logic, putting the all of our eggs in this basket of treatment and medicine and what I have to do, and I have to just do this one thing, as opposed to opening up to this capacity to go beyond. And what we're going to look at when I again do this reclaiming the lost goddess work is healing as death. And that's a fear. And again, it's in the realm of the darkness. It's in incubation. It's in that withdrawal that is the feminine, that healing was known to occur. And yet that again was squashed by this more rational idea of what healing is. So your awakening is your spiritual journey. And that is something that is your precious gem and gift to bring to the world. Your story is sacred. And that story is not just that of failing. If you are thinking of yourself as failing, if you're thinking of yourself of not good enough, or not doing it right, or I'm so angry this isn't working, that is actually something I'm going to invite you to look at with curiosity, and to go beyond and notice in the body where you are sensing something that says, I'm not good enough, or I'm failing, or the anger. When people come to me and they have cancer and they tell me they're angry, I'm like, yes, we're getting somewhere. That's where you need to go. That's what we need to explore, and so that's how we can work with thoughts, by getting underneath them, by getting into the impulses. If there's that part of you that feels like you're failing, like, how old is that part? Where is that coming from? Use that as the juice. Don't allow yourself to think that you're not doing it good enough. Don't allow yourself to just stop. Because if we just put all our eggs in one basket, then we're living from the distortion, because a trauma thinking is it's this or that. And this marriage of left and right brain, the sacred marriage that we're reclaiming, that comes through our process of healing, this is where we learn to hold this and that. We learn to hold multiple experiences, multiple parts of self at the same time, multiple perspectives and understandings. And that is how we grow. That is the new human. It's that part of ourselves that can sit and just be in an energetic state and flow and know when someone enters the room and our energy starts to shift. We can notice that and know what to do and how to keep ourselves safe. And that's all stuff that I will explain at other times. Yet, here is something for you, because I know I've been talking a lot. So I've been really working with the thinking brain. And so those of you that know, I'm always inviting you to just drop into feeling your feet, where your feet and the earth connect. We're not just inviting Gaia in, we're getting to know all the places where the physical body and the earth meet, and noticing the sensations of them, noticing the pressure, weight, heat, skin, temperature, texture, just being with that. That's all the right brain. And notice if your mind starts coming in with thoughts. And tell your left brain you're just bringing something new in right now. Going beyond the thoughts into the beingness. And beginning to move up your feet into feeling your pelvis. Feel the sacredness of your throne. Feel that pelvic area, your pelvic floor, the weight of your bones, noticing if there's more pressure on one side or the other. Just feeling that, noticing it. This is starting to get us in touch with sensation as well as the felt sense. And if you're going to know your higher self, if you're going to know the goddess or the god within you, if you're going to know that you're the creator, then you have to be working from the felt sense. And so I'm going to invite you now to just scan your body. Scan your entire body. And instead of saying, you can try this. There's Dr. Amy of the Biology of Trauma. She really turned me onto this, and it's really cool. You can feel your body, just put your hands on your chest and just say, I am fully healing. I am fully healing. And just notice what happens inside. And now I'm going to invite you to say something else. I am open and curious to my soul's healing journey. I am open and I am curious to my soul's inner journey. And just sense inside, see what feels better. I'm just open. I'm open and curious to the potential to learn the tools of healing. I'm open to the potential of learning the tools of healing. And so, for those of you, and just noticing that, for those of you that had just participated in that, notice that difference. Maybe you noticed in like the second or third statement that there was more shift or more breath or more expansion or more ease. That's what we're going for. We're going for what creates that opening. You know, I'm thinking of a woman I just did a session for, and we just, really just felt inside, and she said, wow, this is where I actually like my body because it feels good. I'm like, yes. Because it's not about the exercise and all of the toning, really, than it is about what it's like inside. And the healing is not going to be from that part that's like, I'm going to heal, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. It's from that part that's just, I'm open and I'm curious. And I'm wanting to build that capacity. And I guarantee you that capacity that I'm speaking of, this capacity that we're building, that capacity is going to be resonating with you everywhere you go. And that will be one of the biggest determinations of the shifts that occur between you and other people. It's gonna, your relationships, your connections, it's gonna help you be a better parent or grandparent. This is gonna help you be a better human and build better communities. Because community happens in connection. And if we're not in our humanness, which is what I'm talking about, this is about healing the humanness and about building a new earth, creating a new earth, and creating and evolving the human. And we have to work in the realm of the human. And our nervous system is what's in communication. You're hearing my voice, but it's in the state of my nervous system that you're resting into. That's what you're listening to. That's what you're hearing. You can trust what I'm saying because I'm in a place of safety. This is embodied for me. I know this. I'm not insecure. I'm not unsure. I know this. And so I'm safe. And because I'm feeling safe, that is translating into how I can emit and transmit energy. Because if we're all in these heightened states of energy and we're not grounded, that's actually dysregulating to people. That could be dysregulating to people. So it's just that like conundrum, like how do we create this connection, connected to the earth, reach to the heavens, 1 foot on the earth, 1 foot in the other world? How do we build this world, this new earth? How do we become the human from the bottom up? And that's what I've been explaining to you is what we call bottom up processing. Because the top down, that's the old way. That's the old paradigm. And we're not here to topple. We're here to build. We're here to create. So for those of you that want to journey more with me, the registration is open for my Reclaiming the Lost Goddess, where we will be focusing on healing from the perspective of the goddess. I'll be sharing a lot of what came through when I was in Egypt and in Greece, in particular, some of the deep experiences I was having when I was participating in the Stargate experience. They did a global gathering of 1,000 people. We were all connected and the energies were so powerful. And yes, a lot of beautiful things happened during the actual workshops, but then I was so opened that these other things were occurring. And I'll be sharing what Isis had to say. And a lot of that is integrated now, so I can bring it forward. And if you'd like to work with me, I'm here for you. And I create all kinds of packages, all kinds of ways that I can make this work accessible, because I know that healing isn't a one-time quick fix. We're inviting the feminine. The feminine is slow. She's sustainable. She is in the irrational. She's in that space beyond the mind. And that's the place I want to welcome you into, safely, and grounded, so that we can bring spirit into matter and we can build a new world from the bottom up. So thanks for listening, and reach out if you have questions or any feelings or thoughts around this. So much love. Bye-bye.